Like, if someone is going to, fight for what's out there, I'd rather have you fight whether you're a good guy or a bad guy. I
Right.
want you on the front line. Okay?
Right.
I want you kicking somebody's behind.
Yeah.
Now, are you now, I don't get to see a whole lot of stuff. Are you a good guy? Are you a good witch or are you a bad witch?
I'm a bad witch. Very, very bad.
Very bad.
Very bad.
How bad?
But entertaining.
You couldn't be anything else.
Well, here's the thing. It came so out of left field, and that's how to get me. I mean, that's really how to hook me. If something really comes out of nowhere,
Right.
I'll probably do it. If it's a really strange choice, I'll probably do it.
Right.
And that's what happened there, is all of a sudden we got a call. I was doing The Blacklist, or about to do it, I think. I can't remember the timing exactly. And I got a call from my agent saying, they'd like to speak to you at Marvel. Now, I will say this. I had gone to meet with Kevin Feige, who runs Marvel Productions. And I had gone to meet with him several years prior to this, because at that time I had one of my middle son, I have 3 sons. My middle son was right at the perfect age for these sort of Marvel comic book movies and so on and so forth. And my agent had said, Kevin Feige would love to meet with you, and just to see what your interest is in doing one of these films. So I went and met with Kevin, and I said, as I said, this is years before I ended up doing Avengers. And I sat down and I said, you know what? I used to love reading comics when I was a kid. I didn't have any. My parents didn't allow me to buy comics. But every time I went over to Will Broadus' house for a sleepover, he had a trunk of comics, and I used to just read. That's all I did at the play. When I go over to Will's house, I would just read comics. I thought they were great. And I said, I've got this son. He loves these things, these movies. I've never done this in my career, ever, ever, ever. As you can imagine, if you've seen anything I've done, none of it is picked for the sake of one's children. Not a single one. I've always been really selfish in how I pick the work that I would do, and it really is for what I like. So it was the only time I'd ever done this, where I said, you know what, I just would love to do a film because of him, I'd love to make well, now I've got an 11-year-old, so he's really into it too, so maybe I gotta meet with Kevin again. But anyway, and Kevin responded, he said, great, that's great, and if anything comes up, I jump forward now several years, and all of a sudden my agent calls me up and says, Kevin Feige called, and is interested in you. He and Joss Whedon would love to talk, Joss would love to talk to you on the phone. I was in New York at the time, Blacklist. Would love to talk to you. They're very interested in you playing, the bad guy in the next Avengers film. I said, well, who is it? I mean, who's the bad guy? They said, it's the name of the film would be Age of Ultron, and it's to play Ultron. And I said, Ultron, what's that? And he said, it's this big, 7-foot robot. And I thought, okay, I'm in my 50s, and I'm, look like this. All right, okay, so is this just voiceover work, or no, anyway, so just get on the phone, So Joss, I got on the phone with Joss. He was in London in pre-production, and pre-production, I think, starts years ahead on these Marvel films.
Yeah.
And so he's in some pre-production over there, and he calls, as I get on the phone with him, and he says, I really haven't, I hadn't really gotten past you. He said, I really haven't thought of anyone else. He said, I said, well, would it just be voiceover? He said, it really is what you want to make of it. He said, it can be just coming in and doing the voice work, or it can be the whole 9 yards. Come in and we'll do motion capture and put you in the funny suit with the dots, and you can do the whole thing and be there for all of it. And I thought, I've been working as an actor professionally for, decades and decades and decades. And this is completely new and foreign to me.
Right.
I don't have a clue what it's like. So if I'm going to do it, I want to do all of it. So I said, okay, I'd like to do all of it. And he said, if I'm going to do it. And I said, but I'd love to read something to know what the hell it is or what's happening. So he said, well, there really isn't a draft that's ready for consumption right now. But yeah, I'll send you something. Well, as it turns out, he just wrote some scenes. And he actually said in the letter, when he sent the thing to me, there was a letter that was with it that said, I don't even know if these will be in the movie, but this is sort of the feeling of what I'm thinking about and in it, it was this 7-foot robot who's like quoting Emily Dickinson, and he's like, you know, on one hand, he's just sort of very funny and sort of like a child, and then he's like losing his temper and going into a complete, you know, fit and severing someone's arm. You know, it just is, you know, he was a real whack job. And very, very smart, and yet also a spoiled child. And perfect. So I said yes, and I went off, and I tell you, I had not been intimidated like that in years.
Really?
On a set. I was such a fish out of water. It was so new and everything. Every day going on the set and doing the work for it was really, it was the process of acting was, for that film, was just something I had never encountered. Now,
really?
Once we then get into recording this,
right,
the voiceover and stuff like that, but we were playing out all the scenes, and then there was a lot of post-production of voice, which of course I'm very familiar with. But it was exciting because it was doing something that was incredibly challenging to me at a time where I had been foolish enough to think I knew what the fuck I was doing.
Well, that gets all of us.
Yeah.
You think, oh, I got this down.
As soon as you think that.
Yes, and then suddenly, there you are, butt out, wagging in the wind, and people are going, that's not how you do that. Oh, sorry. So now,